So today I'm checking out this 4K projector from XGIMI, which is the Horizon Pro 4K projector. It's pretty beefy spec-wise, coming in with Android TV built right in, a dual Harman Kardon speaker setup, HDR10 support alongside a wildly bright display image. Today I'll be jumping into the specs and setup, content and movies, alongside my favorite use case, which is gaming. So here's a review of the XGIMI Horizon Pro from the perspective of a gamer and content lover. Now jumping right into the unboxing of this projector, there's really not much to it. Off the bat, you've got the projector itself, an external power brick, a Bluetooth remote, as well as some batteries. From the get-go too, I didn't actually expect this projector to be as compact and lightweight as it is, coming in at just about 6 pounds and being smaller than I thought it'd be. The projector has a metal looking finish with some beveled edges and overall looks pretty sweet. On the bottom side, you've got some rubber feet as well to keep this thing from moving around. The feet themselves aren't really adjustable, but you can always attach this projector using these threads to a tripod if you rather have more adjustability. On the top end though, you still have some control buttons if you don't have the remote handy. Lastly, on the side, you've got some Harman Kardon branding for the speakers, which I will touch on shortly. As for the ports, you have two USB-A's, which can be used for your own media through USB, of course. You've got two HDMI 2.0 ports, which I'll personally be using for my PlayStation 5 or Apple TV. You've also got an Ethernet jack if you do want to hardwire your internet connection. Otherwise, you still have Wi-Fi support. Lastly, there is an audio jack here and an optical out for any sort of sound systems you might want to hook up to this. From a spec standpoint though, this projector is pretty much top notch, coming in with a 4K resolution. Driving this is a bright bulb, which will peak at 2200 ANSI lumens depending on how far you've set your projector up, and depending on your use case, this bulb is rated to last between 25,000 and 30,000 hours, or about 6 hours a day for over 10 years. At this brightness level, this projector can push a decent image up to 200 inches in size. For me though, I will be working with about 120 inch screen size for my actual wall. Here are some quick throw distances for different screen sizes and setups. As for this setup, this really was quick to do since this is a Google TV setup. It's easy enough just pairing the remote with the projector itself and just getting right into the main page. For my setup though, again, I've just got this right against my living room wall, and I will be testing mostly everything through my PlayStation 5. From a quality standpoint, it's easy to say the image this projector produces is absolutely top notch, coming in with an incredible level of brightness and fidelity. This projector supports HDR content with HLG and HDR10 support. With this, bright areas and content will avoid looking totally blown out, while still maintaining the darkness in the dark areas of your picture. From an image standpoint, the spec sheet touts this projector has some sort of post-processing called XView 2.0, which helps boost image clarity, reduce image grain and noise, and overall provides a better experience. As a normie, I can't really nitpick enough to tell if this is really doing something to the image. Either way, it looks incredible out of box and I have nothing to complain about. For the movie nights in my living room, everything on here simply looks awesome, and watching something on a big screen like this is an experience on its own. Depending on what you're watching as well, you can swap out some pre-made profiles like movie, office, sports, or if you're going to be doing any sort of gaming like myself, of course you want to use that game preset. Chances are you're smarter than I am, so you can always go ahead and make your own profile with the advanced settings where you can adjust things like your HDR, contrast, motion, and of course other things. Overall, from a cinema standpoint, this does a great job with HDR content. The colors look awesome and I can't really ask for more. With this brightness out of box on a light painted wall like mine, everything just looks tack sharp. Even introducing some ambient light from my living room or even down in my basement where I do have this small window that's uncovered, everything is still well viewable. You could get by using this during the daytime as well, although it's probably not ideal for the best image since just about any projector will get washed out with enough light. I definitely have to mention as well, one of the best features bar none is the autofocus, auto keystoning, and of course the object avoidance. Off the bat, autofocus and auto keystoning pretty much allow you to put this projector almost anywhere you'd want, since it'll just adjust the projected image to be as clear as possible even if the projector isn't positioned dead on. In my use case for movie nights, the projector is pretty much centered anyways, so for me I'm just going to be using the autofocus in that situation, but when I use this projector in my basement for the times I'm just chilling and working and stuff, I will have this projector on my bookshelf where it auto keystones to fit this wall perfectly. Likewise, the digital zoom feature is beyond useful if you do have a smaller surface you still want to project onto, and it works like a charm. And again, when it comes down to object avoidance, the projector knows that this window is there and it's interfering with the image, so it does just recalibrate the entire image to fit this wall perfectly. It's just one of those features I didn't know I'd love as much as I did until I used it in my basement. Now, where I'll personally get a huge amount of value here is actually gaming, since a massive 4K display like this is definitely a good time. Swapping this projector over to the game mode like I mentioned before, you will get a lowered response time of 35 milliseconds, which does well enough for gaming as a whole. The only shortfall I can really tell is when it comes to FPS games, where 35 milliseconds will still put you at a disadvantage compared to a TV or monitor, and having read about this online, I kind of expected it to be absolutely atrocious, but it's actually still very well playable for FPS games. You're just not going to be pushing any sort of competitive ranks on this. Where this projector definitely shines on the gaming side though is going to be more cinematic titles like Ghost of Tsushima, Hogwarts Legacy, or God of War. In any of these games the HDR quality is actually insane, so having a huge screen like this really does make a big difference. For a projector like this, I find the best sort of gaming experience is going to be on RPGs, racing, or sandbox games, since you don't really need a split-second reflex like in FPS games. Right now though, I am on my first playthrough of Elden Ring, which has humbled me really quickly, since even the early bosses are ruining my day immediately. If anybody has some good build recommendations, please actually let me know, because I'm feeling like I need to restart and build out a little something easier. That or I'm just really bad. What really isn't bad though are the dual 8-watt speakers on the projector, since they legitimately boom even at like 10 or 20% volume. I actually find myself using the projector a ton as an ambient speaker and video player while I'm working during the daytime, since I can just turn all my basement lights off and just work while playing some lo-fi music or something. These are Harman Kardon branded speakers, which are extremely well tuned for a projector and support both Dolby Audio and DTS audio if that's something you're into. Not that a YouTube video will really do it justice, but here's a quick sound test. And depending on how picky you are for ambient sound, I can definitely say this projector is near silent while running. The spec sheet says about 30 decibels for ambient fan noise, so yeah, not really something I'm worried about. Now, one of the things that actually adds to this experience I could say is actually the minimal remote. It's simple, functional, and has a no BS approach, which I really appreciate. There's navigation buttons, an autofocus button, volume, menu, and my favorite is actually the Google Assistant button, which is awesome for asking for YouTube videos or music whenever you need. Give me some Blink-182 on Spotify. As for the actual UI you're navigating, Google TV setups are as quick as they get, really. I'm pretty stoked the UI isn't littered with ads or suggested content, just the basic tiles with your apps that you can move around and choose as you need. Likewise, you can always just download whatever you might need from the Play Store, so you can get the popular apps like Apple TV, Disney+, Prime, Spotify, and whatever else. The only big one missing here is Netflix, which is a bit of a bummer since Netflix just refuses to license Netflix to some TVs and projectors. I'm really not sure why. The workaround here would probably just be casting this from your phone or tablet to the projector itself, or just use a console like me, which definitely gets the job done. Overall though, the UI is a solid 9 out of 10 since it just cuts all the fluff and gives you what you need. Even the menus are basic, which I definitely appreciate. Overall though, I can say this projector is definitely an easy recommendation since it just works. It really just ticks so many boxes without much hassle. I can't say it's perfect since this isn't really the best for the FPS experiences while gaming, but outside of that, it has just about everything else I can ask for. I place an abnormal amount of value in a simplistic machine like this, and it just works. Again, the UI just works. All the image and auto corrections just work. I don't really need to do anything out of box for a literal top tier experience, so yeah, this recommendation comes pretty easy for me. Not to mention it's super portable as well, so bringing this out for a good time whenever needed is an easy win.